Welcome to A1R Psychic Radio here on Moonstruck TV with Amanda Hall Psychic all the way from the Gold Coast. Now, if we burst out laughing during the show for no apparent reason, it's because my producer's got a new skill and it's called sign language, and we probably won't be able to interpret what he's saying, but it'll be fun anyway. So let's move the show along. I hope everybody's getting ready for Christmas. It's the most magical time of the year. I don't know about you, but I've been glued to the streaming services watching some of the world's greatest Christmas movies, and by far and all, I think I'm going to have to give the vote to Canada and Hallmark, because they seem to just do the most amazing job when it comes to Christmas movies. And there was one I was watching last night, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was actually based in Greenville in the USA, right where this program is actually broadcast from. So I sat there and watched that one very intently. It was a really nice production by Hallmark. Anyway, let's kick the show off. This week we've got the Simply Tarot card of the week, which is one of my favourites, which I know it will be one of yours as well. It's called the Six of Pentacles. Now, most people wouldn't argue with this card, a raise in money or salary. Now, couldn't we all do with a little bit more money at this time of the year? I know it's so expensive as you're out, you know, stocking up the larder and purchasing presents and just going out and having a good time. And it just seems to be a very expensive time of the year. If you're anything like my family, we have a lot of birthdays in December, which just adds to the fun and the excitement and the money that gets spent at this time of the year. But that's okay. I mean, it's a fun time of the year to have a birthday. My birthday's in a few days' time, so I'm really excited about it. It's always a fun time of the year as far as I'm concerned, the Sagittarian time of the year. And to have this card come out now doesn't necessarily mean each and every one of us are going to have more money to spend. It just means that there's opportunities abound. So look out for ways to maybe save a few dollars when you're out shopping, or to maximise how you're spending your money, which will be actually in turn like having a raise in money or salary. Because if you're not spending as much money, then you're saving it for a few other treats or things that you need to put into that basket over the festive season. So it's a time when I think we can start to be a little bit more optimistic. It certainly is a much brighter looking Christmas going into the Christmas season this year than it was a couple of years ago, when we were still in the grips of COVID-19 and everybody was feeling very uncertain, very uncomfortable, and not feeling very festive. So this year, let's hope we can get those sleigh bells are ringing and, you know, everybody singing at the top of their voices and just having an amazing time and spending some quality time with family and friends, I think, is the most important thing. It's not about the expensive gift under the tree. It's the gift of time. It's the gift of your generosity of love and wanting to spend time with somebody. And, you know, and I think there's going to be a lot more sing-alongs this year. I'm hearing a lot more about families getting together and having a singing competition. And, you know, as the drinks flow, the singing gets louder and probably people forget the words, but it's the fun times. And make use of your cell phones this year and take some really good footage for family posterity, I think, is really important. So let's move along to the astrology section. Yes, as I've been talking about, the sun's in Sagittarius and it's the Sagittarian time of the year. Not for much longer, though. The sun shifts into Capricorn around the 22nd, 23rd of this month. So, you know, we're sort of in the thick of it. But the sun in Sagittarius at the moment is making an uncomfortable aspect, or what we call an uncomfortable aspect in astrology, called an inconjunct to Uranus, the planet of the unusual and the unexpected, sitting in Taurus. Now, what does this mean for all of us? What this means is the sun in Sag wants us to be happy and gregarious and lighthearted and have fun and sort of go out and celebrate the holiday and spend too much and drink too much and eat too much and just generally have a great time. Where an inconjunct is an uncomfortable energy. It's 150 degrees. So it's sort of, in astrological terms, it's sort of like it's abrasive, it's naughty, we don't feel comfortable with it. So with the sun sitting in Sag telling us to go out and have a good time and be fun and be gregarious, but we've also got this inconjunct to Uranus in Taurus. Now, Uranus is the planet of the unusual, the unexpected, the things that sort of take us out of our comfort zones. It's sitting in Taurus. Now, Taurus represents the things that are really, really important to us, the things that we set our own rules and regulations down for our own life. So it's interesting that it's feeling uncomfortable. So here's the Sagittarian energy on one hand saying, I want to be free and have fun and be frivolous and spend money like there's no tomorrow. And yet we've got this other side sort of saying, now hang on a minute, be a little bit careful. You really probably don't know what's around the next corner? Have you shored up your family finances? Are you really sure that you're on the right track? And it may just be not necessarily asking you to completely abandon your plans, but asking you to look at things in maybe a slightly different way. Have you looked at the potential of anything that could go wrong? Is there a new project that you're trying to bring in, or you've been trying to bring in, that needs maybe a little bit more work, needs a little bit more attention? You know, you haven't given it enough thought. I'm not trying to put a dampener on new projects. What I'm asking you to do is think outside the square, look at it from every possible angle. Don't just look at the good side of it, but look at potentially what could go wrong, or what could be your very expensive parts of the project that maybe you haven't factored into the whole proposal. If you do that, then I think Uranus can work in a positive light here and bring things to a head, or bring things forward really quickly if you've done your homework. If you've done your sums, you've got all your ducks in a row, and you've looked at from the best to the worst possible outcome and everything in between, then I think this can be work in a really positive sort of way. We also have the Sun creating another difficult aspect called an opposition. Now that means it's at opposite ends. So if you've got one person on one side of the boxing ring and somebody on the opposite, we're saying opposing forces. Well, that's exactly what's happening here in astrology. We've got the Sun in Sag sitting there opposing Mars, the planet of action, in Gemini. Now, Mars at the moment is currently going retrograde or going backwards in the chart. So it sort of takes the oomph out of Mars a little bit there. It sort of takes the wind out of his sails a little bit. Now, again, I'm going to refer this to as being making sure that you've got all your ducks in a row. Make sure that you've looked at every possible scenario of the things that you may be trying to bring into your life, or the changes that you might be trying to bring in. I'd also err on the side of caution with Mars here and say to you, this is not the time to maybe bring up those family grievances that we tend to bring up around Christmas. Have a couple of lolly waters and all of a sudden you get a bit of Dutch courage, and then open your mouth and out comes all the things that have been bugging you about that person for the last 10 years. If that's going to be the case, if you feel that you've got to have a very serious conversation with somebody about something that might be tricky, it may be the time to just sort of maybe shelve it a little bit, or maybe put some bullet points down on a piece of paper and refer to that and stick to the script. Don't sort of go off tangent here. It can be a time, though, where we can get some major breakthroughs, because there may have felt like there's been a blockage in a project that you've been trying to get off the ground, that you've needed more energy in, and for some reason or another there hasn't been enough energy or enough time to go around. Well, all of a sudden there'll be that little slither of hope, that little glimmer of window there that says, yes, you can devote a little bit more time to this. I'd like to hope that it's more connected with a project like that you've suddenly found a little bit of time in your busy schedule that you can start to sort of put a little bit more focus on projects for not just the month of December, but moving forward into 2023, that if there is any obstacles there, write them down, and then sort of, every now and then come back to it. There might be something that'll pop into your mind that could be a potential solution for this, that we can then sort of start to work on it very carefully and start to sort of bring in the new year with some very positive directions, because I feel that there's going to be big opportunities for many of you next year. And it's sort of like the groundwork starts now. So it's not the time, even though it's the busiest time of the year and it's the festive time of the year and we all want to be sort of out partying and having fun, we've got to make sure that we take some notes or make some preparation for the changes that are coming in 2023 too, because we might not get these light bulb moments again in a hurry. So we want to record them at the time that we get them, so we can refer to them a little bit later on. Now, for anybody that's been seeking love, this has been the perfect time, because you're out and about having fun. Everybody's in their best humour usually at this time of the year, when they're out having some fun and meeting different people and going to different parties and seasonal functions and things like that. So it's been a perfect time for that. What I would say to you, if you have just met somebody under this energy, make sure that you really do have your feet on the ground, that this magic of the season doesn't last for the 12 months. Make sure that you take the time to get to know the new person that's entered your life, and make sure that you're not just looking at it through holiday rose-coloured glasses, that you really do get to know this person for what they are and what they stand for, and build a solid relationship. Don't just build a holiday romance if that's not what you want. If you want a solid relationship, then make sure that you put down the groundwork for that. We have Mercury, the planet of communication, is spending its last couple of days in Sag, and I'm happy to say now we can move on to a more positive aspect. We've got Mercury trining Jupiter in Pisces. So what does this mean? Mercury is the planet of communication. So again, this is where we've sort of been exaggerating things or going out and having an absolutely rip-roaring time, and we've all been in an amazing mood, and communication has certainly been flowing. And that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's a time when we sort of can loosen up a little bit and really sort of start to sort of let our hair down a bit. And I think we've all needed to do that, because the last, 2.5, 3 years have been pretty tough when you look at, we've had nearly 3 years of COVID, and we've all had so many restrictions and changes in our lives. It's nice to be able to breathe easily and sort of say, wow, we can, get back to normal now a little bit. So with the trine here, which is a nice aspect, which means that things are flowing. So Jupiter, the planet of expansion and opportunity and luck, is still sitting in the last few degrees there of Pisces. So it's a really nice time when we can really get our creative hats on. This is the time when opportunities can come in sort of seemingly out of nowhere. We meet somebody in a chance meeting or at a function or a gathering, somebody we've never met before or haven't seen in years, and all of a sudden that's the trigger to sort of open up many more opportunities or conversations, or to introduce us to new people. So make sure that you utilise these connections really, really well. Don't let an opportunity slip through your fingers because you're at a social gathering and conversations getting interesting. Exchange phone numbers, exchange email addresses or something like that, so that it can be caught up with again at a later date in the new year when everybody's more back to work focus, that you haven't missed that golden opportunity. We've still got Neptune conjunct Jupiter in Pisces. So Neptune is sort of really helping us to really get our creative hats on and to sort of be really creative and expansive. For some people, it still sort of feels like they might be walking through that Neptunian fog, that they can't see their way clearly yet. Just be patient. It will be happening. There might just be little specks of light in the dark tunnel where you can start to see that things are starting to move and change, and you can start to see that little bit of glimmer of hope, and you're starting to get excited, and so you should be. It has been a very creative time, and it's also been a creative time on the world stage too. It has been a way where countries and world leaders and things like that have had to sort of put their differences aside and start to think collectively as a globe at how we're going to handle this crisis in Ukraine with Russia sort of invading and bombing and doing all those terrible things all the time. And how do we focus on the world at the moment when we've got this energy crisis that, power prices are going up, gas prices, fuel prices are going up around the world, and so is inflation. So, it's not just a nation by nation or country by country problem at the moment, it's a global problem. And I think that's the difference where, world leaders have had to come together and put aside their differences and their own personal agendas to say, okay, collectively as a globe, how are we going to focus on this? How are we going to deal with this? And let's hope very soon that there's a major, major breakthrough in Ukraine. Wouldn't it be a lovely Christmas present if the war had finished by Christmas? We can always hope. I'm the supreme optimist, and I do believe in miracles, and I really do hope that Ukraine can get back to being its own country in its own right and governing in its own right without the fear of some bully coming in and trying to take over their country. So that's where we're going to leave the astrology section this week. We're going to talk with Elaine in Wilkesboro in North Carolina. Are you there, Elaine?
I am.
Do you have a question I can answer for you, sweetie?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a question you would like me to answer for you?
Just kind of general. I've had a lot of losses the past couple of years, a husband, a niece and a nephew, and I'm just coming out of the, out of the hump here, out of the gate, and just wondering, what's going on.
Well, I'm sorry that you've had to go through such extreme losses one after the other, Elaine. That's always a difficult thing to lose one person, but a number of them sort of one after the other. It must have been that you never felt like you could catch your breath, that, you know, who was next. So I'm pleased to say that I don't know that there's much more of that to go through in the coming 12 months. They're sort of showing me a nice, clear, sunny run. So I'm assuming from that vision that they're showing me that, you know, we can start to sort of get excited again about life, that things are going to start to sparkle and shine again. It's interesting though, because even though you've been through so much loss, they're still showing me that you have an optimistic outlook for the future. And I really want to congratulate you for that, because I don't know that too many people would be able to come out the other side of this as you've done and still have some sort of semblance of excitement or anticipation for the future's got to be better. You know, that's a really big thing that you've been able to achieve, Elaine. That's good. So in this time of change that you've been through, was there a period of time there where you thought about potentially maybe moving?
About moving?
Yes.
Yeah, for a little glimmer.
Yeah, because they were showing me that was there, but they were showing me that you didn't act upon it and you weren't meant to either. But I think that was sort of sent to you as almost like a distraction. Do you know what I mean? To sort of help you sort of feel as if you were normal again, that you were looking at normal things in your life. I don't feel that there's any need for a move, but it was just something that they showed me that they wanted to bring up. So did you say at the beginning that you'd lost your husband as well?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Did you tell me at the beginning of the reading that you'd lost your husband as well, your partner?
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt that was a direct message from him to sort of show you that he was there. Do you know what I mean? That he was there sort of trying to divert your attention. Was he good at that when he was here on earth? You know, if you were really down or upset about something, trying to divert your attention to another way so that it would take the edge off it?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, well, that's why I think that was his little way of sending this message to say to you, well, look, I tried to divert your attention there. You know, I knew that there was more tough times coming ahead. But it's interesting because I'm always hesitant to sort of turn around and say to somebody when they've lost the love of their life that there's new love coming, because sometimes people sort of say, oh, no, that's never going to happen for me. I would never allow that to happen. But they were showing me that in the first half of next year, there's going to be an opportunity again for your heart to sing. So the only way that I can see a heart to sing in the way that they were showing it to me was the potential of somebody new coming into your life that's going to make your heart sing again and make your life feel very full again. Now, that doesn't mean that you're being unfaithful to your late husband. That doesn't mean that you have to race off and get married or anything like that. It just means that, you know, you can open yourself up, that you can have somebody that makes you feel happy again, that makes you smile. And I think that's a good thing. And that sort of seems collectively from everybody that's passed over in these last couple of years is what they want to give you as a gift, is give you the gift of feeling happy again. You know, having someone in your life that makes you smile, makes you laugh, that, you know, gets you out of the house, that gets you back into living again. It's collectively from all of them, their gift to you. So, you know, don't look at it on a negative, look at it on a positive, that life does go on and we're not meant to sort of isolate ourselves and shut our lives down just because we've had so much loss. It's time now to start living again. I do feel that there's a lot of nice things that are going to happen next year. They just sort of flashed them past me like a slideshow. That was the major one, though. But just in general, I think you're feeling a lot better in yourself. Your health is starting to come back. You're ready to step out into the world again. You're ready to start experiencing life again. And I think that's the major thing here, Elaine, that they wanted to share with you today, that, you know, the dark days are fading fast and it's now time to open up to the sunshine. So I hope that's helped you.
Yeah, I do feel like I'm kind of at the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, that's good, because it's been really tough. I mean, to lose one person is tough, but to have a series of them, I don't know how you kept getting up again and kept going again. Most of us wouldn't have that tenacity, Elaine.
Yeah, I don't know either. I just kept going.
Yeah, but I think that's the secret, isn't it? You know, you dealt with each day, each hour, each minute as it came. You didn't sort of think too far ahead, because if you had, maybe then you would have, you know, collapsed in a heap and not got
Oh
out
yeah,
of bed. And
oh
that's,
yeah.
you know,
And
even
I have a granddaughter to raise, and that's what I've kept my focus on, being happy for her. You know.
well, that's really important. And I think that's a very definite message for all of us. I know when I lost my husband, when my children were very small, I made a point of making, I suppose, over exaggerated Christmases and birthdays and all that sort of stuff to try and make their lives as
Exactly.
happy as possible. And I think
Yeah,
that helps you feel. And it's always been, you know, to me, my way of doing things. I mean, even though my children are grown and left home and all that sort of stuff, I still get all the Christmas decorations out and I still make a big deal of it, even if it's, you know, only me. It's sort of, I think it's something that you need to do, and you need to honour that for the people that are no longer with us. So anyway, Elaine, that's where we've got to leave it. I've got to move on to our next caller. So we're going to talk with Maya in Roanoke in Virginia. Are you there, Maya? Oh,
How you doing?
good, sweetie. How can I help
How you
you,
doing?
sweetie?
I just kind of want like a reading about like my love life, I guess.
Did you say your love life, sweetie?
Yes, my voice is a little hoarse.
No, that's all right, sweetie. I was just having trouble making sure that I clearly understood what your question was. Okay. So you're asking about love life. The first thing that they're showing me is that there's one from the past that you haven't completely dealt with yet. Is there somebody that's just crossed back over your path again or made contact with you recently that was from your past?
Me and my ex, we definitely go through like a on and off situation a lot. Like it's yeah.
Okay. But I think, darling, you've got to make a decision about either you want that situation back or we've got to shut the door completely. It's sort of having one foot in the doorway opening is not helping you attract or bring in towards you new solid love. You know, it's sort of like you're the one unconsciously or consciously that's holding up the process. And it's if you don't want him back again, if you've done the dance so many times together that it's not what you want, then you've got to shut the door completely. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, because if it's karmic, if it's a past life love where we've done this dance before many times, the soul remembers that we've done this dance and we're supposed to be connected. So it's really hard then to shut the door off. And that's what I think you need to do, sweetheart, because you know and I know that this is never going to be the connection of love and relationship that you would be comfortable with going forward and saying, this is what I want for the rest of my life. So it's kinder to sort of take a stand and say, right, that's it. We've done this too many times. We've got to be kind to each other and say, that's it, goodbye, you know, and mean goodbye. Once you do that, I don't think it's going to be too long then before you bring in new love. Keep seeing a tall, dark-headed, gorgeous-looking man just waiting to come in, but he won't come in while there's still this tug-of-war situation between you and your ex. It's like we've got to finish that first. When this new man comes in, he's everything that you've ever wanted in a relationship and more. He's strong, he's good-looking, he's very kind, he's very considerate. He gives you a sense of purpose again. And it's, you know, this previous relationship, I keep going back to that. It's like he sucked the life out of you. He sucked your ability to feel confident in yourself and to make confident decisions, where this other man comes in and he does nothing but build you up again and helps you sort of become the person that you always were underneath but never really had a chance to shine. So there's major changes coming up around March for you. I think from March onwards next year, I think we can start to see things moving quite rapidly. Many changes coming in, new man, new job, change of residence, and just sort of a whole brighter looking future. So I hope that's helped you, sweetie. Yes, that's good. Well, it's always, difficult when we've got a love in our lives that, you know, has been on again, off again, and we sort of start to sort of think that maybe we're doing something wrong, we haven't handled it in the right way, that if we do this or we do that, that we're going to make the relationship right. And, you know, sometimes it is up to us to sort of put some extra effort in. But a lot of times these relationships are karmic, and this is why the soul remembers. We've done this dance many times before, and that's the struggle to be able to let go of something that is so familiar, that we feel in our soul that we've got to try and make this right, that, you know, somewhere along the line we didn't put enough effort in before, so we over-exaggerate or overcompensate the effort that we put in this time around. So for many people that might also help them if they've been struggling with relationships that have been on again, off again, and can't understand why you can't just say goodbye and mean it. That's the answer to that sort of situation. Don't be too tough on yourself. It will eventually come to the right conclusion, the right ending, the right change, or the relationship will miraculously turn out to be what you want it to be, that after all the hard work, it'll pay off. No one ever really knows in karmic situations what the right ending is. They're always usually yet to be written. So it's something that you've got to work through meticulously. So, you know, I know that there's a lot of people struggling out there with relationship issues at the moment, and I wish you well with trying to sort of bring those into the way that you want them to be. And, you know, after all my years of being in this work, I can say one thing: relationships should not be hard work. If they are really, really, really hard work, then it's not the right relationship for you. It should flow, it should be easy. You need to be each other's best friend as well as being in a relationship. That's I believe, the recipe for success. That if you're each other's best friend and you constantly try and help each other and make each other the best person that they can be, and do that in a selfless manner, then you've got a recipe for success. We only have a couple more minutes of the show, and this week I want to leave you with a Christmas carol that is a very popular song. It's one that's been covered by many, many, many people around the world, but I want to leave you with a slightly different version this week, and it's called Silver Bells. And one of the nicest versions of this song I've ever heard is by the one and only Gloria Estefan. And she has the most beautiful voice, and she does a beautiful rendition of this song. So why don't you check that one out, Silver Bells by Gloria Estefan, and we'll see you all next week, and have a Merry Christmas. Bye for now.